What if I told you that the perfect, clean textbook hole you just drilled is the exact reason you're going home empty-handed? You heard me right. All that effort to make a nice, neat hole is actively scaring away every fish in the area. Today, we're talking about your ice auger. Not the brand, not the power, not whether it's gas or electric. We're talking about how you use it and how it's secretly sabotaging your entire day on the ice before you even bait a hook. By the end of this video, you'll understand the invisible shockwave you're sending through the water and how to turn it from a fish repellent into a potential fish attractant. And here's a hint. The answer has almost nothing to do with how loud your auger motor is to your own ears. Do you think a quiet electric auger is automatically better than a gas one for not spooking fish? Let me know in the comments right now, and let's see if you still think so in 20 minutes. For years, we've been told the same things. Get a good spot, drill your holes, and get fishing. The drilling part was just a chore, something to get over with as quickly as possible. The common wisdom was faster is better. Punch through that ice, clear the slush, and drop your line. We spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars on sensitive rods, high-tech flashers, and stealthy gear to detect the slightest bite. We tiptoe around on the ice, trying not to make a sound. But we completely ignore the single most violent and disruptive event of the day, the drilling itself. We've been taught that a powerful auger that rips through the ice in 10 seconds is a mark of efficiency. We believe that a perfectly clean, slush-free hole is the sign of a serious angler. These are the habits passed down for generations. But today we're going to challenge all of that. We're going to look at what's really happening under the surface from the fish's perspective. First, let's set the scene. Imagine you're a big walleye suspended a few feet off the bottom. Your world is relatively quiet, muffled. Your entire body, especially your lateral line, is designed to detect the faintest vibrations. It's how you find food and avoid predators. Suddenly the ceiling of your world begins to scream, not with a sound you can easily place, but with a high-frequency vibration that grates on every nerve. It's a feeling, a pressure wave that signals intense, unnatural danger. This isn't just a noise from above, it's a feeling that permeates the water around you. Your instinct isn't to get curious, it's to flee. This is what a fish experiences when you fire up your auger directly overhead. We need to stop thinking about what we hear and start thinking about what they feel. Now for the biggest myth on the ice, that a gas auger is loud and an electric auger is quiet. From our perspective, standing on the ice, that's absolutely true. A gas motor is loud and smelly. An electric motor just hums. But to the fish, the noise of the motor is almost irrelevant. That sound is mostly traveling through the air. The real enemy, the sound that penetrates the ice and water most effectively, is the vibration from the blades themselves as they cut and fracture the ice. A high-speed electric auger spinning at thousands of RPMs can create a high-frequency vibration that is just as, if not more, terrifying to fish than the low-end rumble of a gas engine. It's not the motor type. It's the blade noise and the vibration it sends through the solid ice sheet. Let's focus on the real culprit, the blade vibration. Think of it this way, the cutting edge of your auger blades, whether they are chipper blades or shavers, are hitting the ice thousands of times per minute. Each impact, no matter how small, sends a tiny shock wave through the ice. When you run your auger at full throttle, you are creating a continuous high-frequency signal. This is a sound that simply does not exist in nature. It's the equivalent of a smoke alarm going off in a quiet room. It's jarring, it's piercing, and it signals that something is violently wrong. Fish, especially pressured fish, associate this specific vibration with danger from above. They have been conditioned to know that this sound is often followed by lures, lines, and being pulled from their world. Their survival instinct is to get as far away from that sound as possible. Here's a simple, real-life example to put it in perspective. Imagine you're sitting in a completely silent, empty warehouse. If someone starts a big truck 100 yards away outside, you'll hear it as a low rumble. It's noticeable, but not alarming. Now imagine someone walks up to the concrete wall right next to you and starts scratching it with a piece of metal. That sound is much quieter in terms of pure decibels, but it's sharp, high-pitched, and right there. It goes right through you. The rumble of the gas augers engine is the truck outside. The high-pitched whine of the blades cutting the ice is that metal scraping right next to your ear. It's an invasive, sharp, and unnatural vibration that fish feel in their entire bodies through their lateral line. That is the feeling that sends them scattering. This brings us to our first major mistake, the obsession with speed. Everyone wants to punch their holes as fast as humanly possible. We see it as a sign of a good auger and an experienced fisherman. But flooring the trigger on your drill is the worst thing you can do. High revolutions per minute, or RPM, directly translates to high-frequency vibrations. You are literally creating the most offensive sound possible. By going full speed, you're not just cutting ice. You're shattering it on a microscopic level, sending those sharp, jarring vibrations deep into the water column. You might save yourself 10 seconds of drilling time, but you could be poisoning that spot for the next 30 minutes. The fish are gone long before your transducer even hits the water. It's a classic case of winning the battle but losing the war. So what's the solution? It's the slow and steady approach. Instead of trying to obliterate the ice, you want to shave it. This means backing off the throttle. You need to find the sweet spot for your auger, where the blades are cutting efficiently, but the motor isn't screaming at maximum RPM. You want a smooth, consistent cutting speed. The goal is to create a lower frequency, consistent hum rather than a high-pitched, chipping shriek. Think of it like a skilled woodworker using a sharp plane to peel away a perfect shaving of wood versus a beginner hacking at it with a hatchet. One is a controlled, smooth process, and the other is violent and chaotic. You want to be the woodworker, not the hacker. This simple change in speed drastically reduces the high-frequency vibrations that spook fish. Let's talk simple science for a moment without getting too technical. Sound travels through water more than 4 times faster than it travels through air, and it travels even faster through a solid like ice. So that vibration you create at the top of the ice doesn't just slowly leak into the water. It is instantly transmitted through the entire ice sheet and then explodes into the water column at incredible speed. A fish 20 feet deep and 50 feet away feels that vibration almost at the exact same instant you pull the trigger. There is no delay. There is no hiding from it. This is why your initial approach is so critical. You are essentially broadcasting your arrival to the entire area, and the message you send in those first 30 seconds determines if the fish will stick around or be in the next county. Visualize what this sound looks like underwater. It's not just a general noise. The vibration radiates from your hole downwards and outwards like a massive, invisible cone. We can call it the cone of terror. The closer a fish is to being directly under your hole, the more intense the vibration is. This cone can easily extend 50 to 100 feet in all directions, depending on the water depth and clarity. Any fish inside this cone is immediately put on high alert. The smaller, more skittish fish like perch and crappie will often flee immediately. Larger predators like walleye or pike might be a bit more tolerant, but they become extremely wary. They stop actively hunting and go into a defensive, cautious state, you've essentially turned your prime fishing real estate into a dead zone. It's important to understand how different fish perceive this. They don't have ears like we do. Their primary tool for sensing their environment is the lateral line. This is a series of sense organs along the side of their body that detects movement, pressure changes, and vibration in the water. It's incredibly sensitive. A walleye can use its lateral line to detect the faint flutter of a dying minnow from several feet away in total darkness. Now imagine what the high-frequency scream of an auger blade feels like to that finely tuned instrument. It's a complete sensory overload. They don't just hear it as a noise, they feel it as a physical, threatening presence. This is especially true for fish like walleye, perch, and crappie, which rely heavily on their lateral line for hunting in low-light conditions under the ice. Now for the second major mistake, which often happens right at the end of the drilling process. It's the punch-through. You're almost through the ice. You can feel the resistance lessening, and what does almost everyone do? They keep the power on, pushing hard to break through that final layer. This is a catastrophic error. That moment when the auger suddenly breaks free from the ice and hits the water is the single loudest moment of the entire process from the fish's perspective. You're creating a sudden, massive change in pressure. It's the underwater equivalent of a door being kicked in. All that torque and power which was fighting the ice is suddenly released in a violent burst of energy, slush, and bubbles. This sends a powerful, low-frequency shock wave through the water that is completely different from the cutting vibration. Let's call this punch-through what it is, an underwater explosion. It is a sudden, concussive force. For any fish that might have tolerated the initial drilling vibration, this is often the final straw. Think about it from their point of view. The ceiling was screaming, and now it has just exploded downwards into their living room. This concussive blast can be so startling that it can put fish off the bite for a long time. They will either bolt from the area entirely or hunker down on the bottom, refusing to move or eat. You can have the best lure and the perfect presentation, but it won't matter. The fish are in a state of shock, and their last priority is feeding. You've created a traumatic event right on top of their heads, and they will not forget it quickly. So how do you avoid this punch-through shockwave? It requires finesse and a bit of feel. As you get to the last inch or two of ice, you need to completely change your approach. You'll feel the auger start to pull itself through more easily. This is your cue. You need to back way off the throttle, almost to a crawl. More importantly, stop pushing down. Let the weight of the auger itself do the final bit of cutting. The goal is to have the auger gently slip through that last layer of ice rather than blasting through it. It should make a slush sound as it enters the water, not a bang. This one small adjustment, lasting only 2 or 3 seconds, can make a world of difference. It prevents that massive pressure wave and keeps the fish in a much calmer state. You've drilled the hole perfectly with a slow, steady speed and a gentle punch through. You're not done yet. Now comes the third common mistake: aggressive slush management. What's the first thing most anglers do? They'll run the auger up and down in the hole a few times to flush out the slush, or they'll grab their metal ice scoop and start frantically scraping and scooping, banging the scoop against the side of the hole or the ice. This is just creating more unnecessary and unnatural noise. After you worked so hard to be quiet, you're now creating a new set of jarring sounds. The scraping of metal on ice, the sloshing, the banging, it all adds to the disturbance. The fish that were starting to calm down are now being agitated all over again. Think about the scene you're creating. First, there was a high-pitched scream from the blades. Then, there was a concussive blast from the punch-through. And now, there's a bunch of loud, chaotic scraping and sloshing. It's like a construction site. This tells the fish that the danger isn't over, it's ongoing. Any curiosity they might have had is replaced by a continued sense of dread. They will stay away from the source of that commotion. A clean hole is important, but how you achieve it is just as important as how you drilled it in the first place. You need to transition from the drilling phase to the fishing phase with as much stealth as possible. The goal is to return the area to a state of calm as quickly as you can, not to prolong the disruption with a noisy cleanup. Here is the quiet slush removal method. It's simple. First, avoid using the auger to clear the hole. Just lift it straight out. Then take your plastic ice skimmer. Plastic is generally quieter than metal. Don't jab it into the hole. Gently lower it in and use smooth lifting motions to scoop the slush out. When you dump the slush, don't throw it. Just pile it neatly a foot or two away from the hole. Most importantly, do not bang the skimmer against your boot or the ice to knock slush off. If it's sticking, just give it a gentle shake or use your gloved hand to clear it. The entire process should be smooth, deliberate, and quiet. Your goal is to make the fish forget you were ever there. You want the environment under your hole to return to its natural, peaceful state as fast as possible. Let's put this all together into the pro technique. Here's your new step-by-step process for starting a spot. 1. Place your auger and start drilling at about 50 to 75% of its maximum speed. Find that smooth shaving rhythm. 2. Maintain a consistent, steady pressure. Don't force it. Let the blades do the work. 3. As you feel the auger about to break through, ease up completely on the downward pressure and reduce the speed to a crawl. Let its own weight gently push it through the last bit of ice. 4. Lift the auger straight out of the hole without plunging it. 5. Use a plastic skimmer to gently and quietly remove the slush. The entire process should look and feel controlled, smooth and deliberate, not rushed and violent. This is the definition of fishing with finesse. If you don't believe me, just watch the real pros. I'm not talking about the guys on television who are sponsored to show off how fast their new auger is. I'm talking about the seasoned guides, the tournament anglers, the old-timers who consistently catch fish when no one else can. Watch how they drill a hole. There is no wasted motion. There is no frantic energy. They are smooth. They are deliberate. They understand that everything they do on the ice sends a message to the fish below. They treat the ice like the ceiling of a church, not the floor of a factory. Their movements are practiced and quiet because they know that their success for the next hour is determined by their actions in these first 2 minutes. They respect the environment they are in, and the fish reward them for it. Now for the big twist. So far, we've talked about how noise can be a massive repellent. But what if I told you that a certain type of sound can actually be an attractant? Fish are naturally curious creatures. An unusual but non-threatening sound can sometimes draw them in to investigate. They want to know what's going on. A sudden, loud bang will scare them. A high-pitched scream will scare them. But a slow, rhythmic, low-frequency pulse? That can be a different story. It can mimic the sound of other fish feeding or some other natural disturbance that signals an opportunity for a meal. This is where we can actually use our auger to our advantage if we are smart about it. So how can you turn your auger from a fish repellent into a potential lure? It's all about applying the techniques we've discussed, but with a purpose. After you've drilled your primary fishing hole using the quiet method, consider drilling a second or even a third hole nearby. Do it using that same slow, steady, shaving technique. This creates a consistent, low-frequency hum that travels through the water. It's a disturbance, yes, but it's a non-threatening one. Curious perch or walleye from farther away might feel this vibration and move in to see what's causing it. You are essentially using a controlled, deliberate noise to ring the dinner bell. You're drawing fish into your area instead of blasting them out of it. This is next-level ice fishing strategy. I want you to conduct an experiment. The next time you are out on a new spot, I challenge you to do this test. Pick 2 areas that are about 50 yards apart but on similar structure. On the first spot, drill your holes the old way. Full throttle, aggressive punch-through, noisy slush clearing. On the second spot, use the quiet pro technique we just outlined. Drill slowly, ease through the bottom, and clear the slush gently. Set up your flasher or camera in a hole on each spot and just watch. Don't even fish yet. Just observe. I am willing to bet that the spot you drilled quietly will show signs of life, marks on the flasher, curious fish on the camera, far, far sooner than the spot you blasted. The results will speak for themselves, and I guarantee it will change the way you approach the ice forever. So let's wrap this up. The big takeaway today isn't that you need to buy a new, expensive, quiet auger. The secret isn't in the gear, it's in the technique. It's about slowing down, being deliberate, and thinking about what the fish are feeling, not what you are hearing. By controlling your drilling speed, finessing the punch-through, and quietly clearing your slush, you are fundamentally changing the message you send into the water. You're going from a chaotic, threatening intruder to a subtle, maybe even intriguing, presence. The most shocking realization for many of us is that the very things we thought were signs of an efficient fisherman, speed and power, are actually the most destructive habits we have. This should change your entire approach. Those first 5 minutes on a spot are not just a chore to get through, they are the most critical moments that determine your success or failure for the rest of the day. Thanks for watching, everyone. If this video blew your mind and made you rethink your whole strategy, do me a favor and hit that like button. And make sure you subscribe for more content that breaks down the myths and gets to the truth of fishing. Now, for the comments. After watching this, what is the single biggest mistake you realize you've been making with your auger all these years? Let's talk about it below.